Welcome back once again to another Shark Show. Today we have a 3-subject Shark Show. We're going to do moratorium, wastewater, and backroom deals. And as we go through this video, you'll understand what we're talking about and what's going to be done about it. We'll just have to wait and see. So what we'll start with is a moratorium. The 120-day moratorium. We've had a video about it. And there's been 2 public meetings, one on planning and zoning, one on city council. And people have spoken about it, and most are in favor, almost all, I think, of the moratorium, 120 days. I think one even wanted 2 to 4 years.
Yeah.
So we definitely have a wastewater problem. But what we hear from some of the city officials is they kind of meld 4 things into this wastewater problem. They talk about the plant by 377 and the bridge, which is a drinking water plant.
Right.
They went from 2.5 million gallons to, I think, 5 million gallons of drinking water, which is great. Then they talk about the Water's Edge wastewater treatment plant needing improvements, right?
Yeah.
Then they talk about the East plant, which is the new proposed plant they're speaking about. And then lastly, they speak about the lift stations. So there's 4 little things they mesh in between all of this, and you have to kind of sift through the you-know-what to get to where we're at. And I think it's funny, if you look at these videos we're going to watch, that they say you can't speak about the wastewater treatment plant, but they lead up to it with hours and hours of city officials and people they paid to do the engineering and the studies for this, and they speak all about wastewater. And then the people that have to come up, they can't speak about wastewater. They have to speak about the moratorium.
Right.
Yeah, well, you got to comply with the Open Meetings Act.
That's right. Well, some do and some don't.
Right.
So let's get to one of our first speakers.
The capacity at lift station number 7 was also is deficient. And then lift station 23, which is east of lift station 7. These 3 areas have become undersized based on the continued growth that the city's seen on the east side of town, and have caused sanitary sewer overflows due to the capacity deficiencies, which is unauthorized discharge of wastewater outside of the system.
So we have unauthorized discharge of wastewater out of the system.
Now, what is that in layman's terms?
That means there's you-know-what flowing through the streets and up over the manhole covers, right?
Yeah.
So as we start going into this, we've heard time after time that, the city council, hey, we're where we should be, we're on par, we're doing everything just right. Well, if we were doing everything just right, or if the city council was doing everything just right, do you think we'd have you-know-what coming out of the manhole cover?
No.
Yeah, probably not.
No, not at all. So let's go to this next clip and see further what's going on.
Are we at capacity or are we over capacity?
You're actually over capacity. The gravity system is approximately 130% capacity, I believe, which is 30% over capacity. Lift station 7, you're well over capacity as well, and the same at lift station 23. So you're actually beyond the capacity of the existing system and what it's capable to handle.
So this was a Planning and Zoning Commission notice of a meeting, and this was December 2nd of 2020. And one of the Planning and Zoning people asked a question, I couldn't tell because of the masks, and asked, hey, are we at capacity or over capacity? And what was Chris's reaction?
Overcapacity. Well overcapacity. I thought it was interesting, though, that he mentioned the gravity system was 130% over. Well, so it was 30% over capacity. So it's at 130%. But he didn't give any statistics for the other 2 places that were mentioned. He just said that they were well over capacity.
So during the citizen input phase of this Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, citizens got up to speak. Mr. Griffin comes up to speak, and he starts talking a little bit too much of that wastewater treatment plant. And then I believe it's Jeremy Sorrell who puts an end to that.
Yeah.
Listen to this clip.
The lake.
Mr. Griffin, today's agenda has been posted in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. and it is to receive input regarding the adoption of the moratorium.
Uh-huh.
This is not about the wastewater treatment facility or Rucker Creek. This is to receive comments regarding the current moratorium ordinance that's been proposed by the city.
Okay, I thought that the first two gentlemen.
So here we are once again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can speak, if we're the city or the planning commission, all day long about wastewater and the causes of it and why we're coming to this moratorium, but the citizens can't. When we talk about wastewater and the plants and what the heck's been going on for the last 2, 5, 10, 20 years, and why haven't we seen this coming? And, you know, you plan at 5, 10, 15, 20-year increments. There was a watershed plan in effect from what we're hearing, either 1999 or the year 2000.
Yeah.
And so during the citizen comment period, Victoria Calder comes up and speaks partly about this.
And we've also presented the Lake Granbury Watershed Protection Plan to the city officials. This plan was only the second one ever adopted from the state of Texas by the Environmental Protection Agency. It's on record with TCEQ, with the EPA, and with our Council of Governments. In here, they recommend, and this was 10 years ago, some people here were on this committee, top experts from across the state spent 3 years, and it says on page 103, the city of Granbury is developing plans for a 10 million gallon a day plant north of Granbury. Our current officials knew nothing of this. This baton was not passed forward.
So when she says this baton was not passed forward, that means through all city departments, all elected officials, the city manager, and we've had a few in between there. But you would think when you come on board, infrastructure would be one of the first things, right?
Absolutely, especially at the rate that we've been growing.
Exactly. So, you know, we were talking about the watershed. It actually went back even further than that.
Yeah, it went all the way back to 10 years ago is what she said. And there was plans, I guess, in the works then to possibly do the regional facility for Granbury.
Right.
And was that baton not passed, or was it just ignored?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. You know, when you get elected, you've got to do your homework. And we find time and time again that whether you're on city council, whether you're on commissioner's court, nobody is doing their homework. Maybe one or two elected officials.
And when Dr. Calder was speaking, she mentioned a plant that was going to be capable of doing 10 million gallons a day.
And so, yeah, 10 million. They're looking at 2 million is what Water's Edge is slated for through TCEQ. So that's 5 times that of just, you know, the Water's Edge plant. Yeah. Not even, you know, putting together this new one that they want behind Bennett's, right?
That's right.
Okay, so let's look at this next clip of Miss Rawls. And she has, you know, once again, and we say it, or I say it time after time, she's kind of hit the nail on the head, right here. So let's listen to this clip.
3 words that come to mind: planning, zoning. I heard the word study. I'm in favor of the moratorium because if someone stands up here and says you're 30% over capacity, that's an indictment on your planning, zoning, and your study. We did not just experience this growth recently. Anyone knows that this exodus from the West coming to Texas has been happening for 5 years. It's a real sad shame that you would have a map that looks like that and not be prepared for the growth. Right now, the gentleman's correct. There are shutdowns.
Shoo, man.
So she had it right.
Yeah. She, you know, lays the case that, hey, you guys are supposed to be doing all this planning and everything, and y'all have failed. I mean, that's what she's telling them.
Right.
And it's not, you know, it's not special news to anybody that's lived here, you know, 10, 15 years that we've been growing, you know, every year, especially the last 4 or 5.
Yeah, and the studies, they were done. The studies have been done, and the recommendations were made, and the plans were beginning, but then an indictment on their part, no one ever followed through.
Right. In this next couple of video clips, we're looking at from City Council meeting on December 9th at 6 p.m. at City Hall. The first part is a reading that's done very well. I think it's by Euchre.
Yeah, it's David Euchre.
Yeah, so he does a great job reading that. But it almost, part of the ordinance they're speaking about almost indicts the city itself in their own ordinance.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's listen.
And whereas the Granbury City Council, as a duly elected legislative body, finds that it is facing significant historic and contemporary land use challenges that exist due to the lack of capacity of the current wastewater collection system and limited capacity in the current treatment facility and delay in securing a permit from the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality.
So, as eloquently as that was, which was a good job.
Yeah,
I mean,
Euchre kills it every
he
time he
does.
does that stuff.
It's still, just like the lady in the previous video, it indicts the city saying, we've got a problem, we've had a problem, and now we're over capacity, and we're kind of hiding it from the citizens that we're in dire need of a wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah, it's no secret we need one really bad.
Let's listen to this next clip, and it's kind of, I believe it's kind of a contradiction. So let's listen and find out.
Whereas the City Council finds that the city has been actively and diligently engaged in its assessment of the city's wastewater treatment program, including evaluating its necessity for a new treatment facility.
So all of a sudden now the city council says the city's been diligently at work trying to get this new wastewater treatment plant and land purchased and everything accomplished because we're way over capacity and we're past that point.
Yeah. And in that resolution, it said that they're diligently involved in the assessment. And I'd say that's right. Like, they're talking a lot about doing something. They're just having trouble getting anything done.
Right.
Right. It makes me think of that old saying, lack of preparedness on your part doesn't constitute an emergency on mine. This lack of planning, this lack of preparedness, that we've known about this forever now. But now, unfortunately, we are where we are.
Nate, it's interesting you say that because we have a clip right here of the mayor.
Frequently asked questions. Now, these frequently asked questions are concerning the wastewater plant, so that you know that that is not what we're here to talk about. But if you want to look at some of those frequently asked questions about the wastewater plant, I believe they're outside, right, Carla? On the table out there, so you can pick those up if you want and take a look at those also.
So you're right, Nate. We're not here to talk about the wastewater treatment plant, but by the way, we are. So go out there and look.
Yeah. They are trying so hard to not have these two subjects tied together, and I don't understand why. I mean, do either one of you?
Because to me, it's clearly they go hand in hand. They clearly go together. So.
Well, their own engineers, their own city project people, their own public works people say they are combined.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, nobody was up there talking about the moratorium from the city. It was all tied to wastewater. I don't know why they're trying to separate the two. Maybe they didn't want a bunch of people in the audience with pitchforks and torches.
Well, I think it kind of comes back to maybe the back room deals that we're fixing to talk about here shortly. And this is I think they're trying to keep it separated so, they don't know what one hand is doing and the other hand's doing. So let's listen to another video.
Turn it over to the staff, and I think we have Rick Crown over to talk to us, start off with, right?
Thank you, Mayor. Rick Crownover, Director of Public Works, City of Granbury. Mayor Hewlett, council members, Mr. Kaufman. Mayor, if you'd allow me, I would like to read my staff report at the risk of being a little redundant on the ordinance.
Okay.
And then I have a few remarks after that. So, background and discussion. The City of Granbury is in the process of upgrading the wastewater system through the Phase 1 Water System Improvements Project. The project is comprised of upgrades to the existing wastewater treatment plant, construction of new wastewater treatment plant, and various wastewater collection system improvements.
The first thing that comes up is the Public Works Director, and what does he talk about?
Wastewater.
Wastewater. From the ordinance, right?
Right.
That they read earlier from the City Council,
Yep.
which was about wastewater.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about the moratorium, right?
I thought they weren't there to talk about wastewater.
So let's listen to the next clip because it starts to get even better.
Once the East Wastewater Treatment Plant is constructed and operational, the system issues as described above will be resolved.
So what Rick Crownover is saying is once the East Wastewater Plant is built and online, all our problems will be solved. So that's the new one. But in the meantime, they're upgrading Water's Edge. They're going to try to upgrade Pump Station 7 and Pump Station 23 and the motors. Still nothing about the moratorium, right?
Nothing so far.
But they're not connected.
They're not connected. So let's listen to this next clip.
For instance, the Granbury Wastewater Treatment Plant is a 2 million gallon per day. That is our capacity as permitted by the state. The state says that if a utility treatment plant reaches 75% of its capacity for 3 consecutive months, you need to start making some changes. And in the spring of 2016, during a weather event, we reached that 75% consistently, and we're over that. And when we did that, we had to go into design for upgrades. We engaged the engineer to do that and started down this road. So this has been looked at, and improvements have been made for a long time before tonight.
So if you listen to the Director of Public Works, he pretty much spells it out right there. He reached 75% in the spring of 2016 due to a weather event. And let's listen for more statistics on what's going on.
It also states that when you reach 90% of your capacity, you need to be under construction. And we are under construction at the current wastewater treatment plant. Again, as it was said in 2017, we engaged the engineer.
So we are at 90% right now, capacity is what he's saying. So they have to start construction somewhere. And the only place they can is the current wastewater treatment plant on Water's Edge Drive.
Right.
Which, you know, we can see there's a sign up now, and we can see by the sign that, yes, there's construction going on.
This moratorium is not a choice. This is something we're going to have to do. We're at capacity levels that need to be addressed, and this suspension will hopefully let us alleviate some of those, and while we wait on our permit.
So right there you have the Public Works Director saying moratorium is absolutely needed.
Yeah, we have to do this.
Yes.
Due to a lack of planning, you know, and the state may have their guidelines as to, you know, when you hit 75%, you should be doing this, or 90%, you should be doing that. Like all state stuff, it's going to be kind of cookie cutter. But knowing that we've had this growth going on for so long, again, and we said this last time, guys, they were behind the 8 ball up there.
That's a great way to put it, Nate, because, you know, when you're looking at 75% and you're at average growth or slow growth and then 90%, yeah, you can follow those guidelines. When you're at such explosive growth that Hood County and Granbury is, there is no reason we shouldn't have had this done much sooner.
Yeah.
Now, let's listen to Keith Kendall, I believe it is. And now we're getting into the biscuits and gravy of this deal right here. The real numbers are coming out. Let's listen.
To each of those lift stations and the growth on the eastern side of your service area, you're now looking at the gravity line that goes downstream of lift station 7 has a capacity or over capacity at 133%. And as we go forward to looking at the wet well for lift station 7, based on its current demands, it's 140%. Whereas lift station number 23 does have a larger, more than adequate wet well. That is the facility that collects all of the wastewater when it comes in. It served as a buffer, but the pumps for lift station number 23 are over capacity by almost 200%.
200%.
The pumps are over capacity at lift station 23 by 200%. You have 133% line over capacity on the line for pump station 7. So guess what happens? You have waste everywhere.
Yeah.
Once again, coming out of manhole covers. And it begs the question of, hey, are we on line with this? The city council keeps asking, hey, we're doing good, aren't we? Well,
it doesn't sound like we
no,
are.
You're not. No, we're at a critical stage. And I think this is kind of going from, you know, let's tap the brakes on this wastewater treatment plant to now I know why the city manager is so in tune on getting this done.
Yeah.
because they haven't publicly brought this to the attention of the people saying, no, wait, time out. This is dire need.
Yeah.
When you start having wastewater flow in the streets,
Yeah.
you know, we can talk about who was wrong and why it happened, but now we have to get the problem solved and make sure the people that were put in place, maybe they need to find another job somewhere.
Maybe they do.
Yeah, I'd like to see a few of them go myself.
Well, we just can't have this on this growth and infrastructure planning, let alone wastewater, but roads and whatnot. So if our wastewater is this far behind, just think where our whole infrastructure is.
Yeah, it's been neglected for a long time, and you know, you look at who's responsible. A lot of times these elected officials will lean on the unelected bureaucrats like Chris Kaufman for their expertise. Well, what we're seeing here is anything but expertise.
Let's listen to this next clip.
What that results in wet weather events is sanitary sewer overflows, where wastewater comes out of the manholes, and you'll have localized flooding of raw wastewater, which has to be reported to the TCEQ. We have had those events with that because of the fact that we just did not have the adequate wastewater collection capacity with the growth that has occurred. In doing that, the city proceeded, an analysis of going through what are the alternatives to do that. They've moved forward with the East Wastewater Treatment Plant to try to take the flows off of Lift Station 23 and really Lift Station 7, because that's the one that goes to the South Plant. It also has a lot of issues with the sanitary sewer overflows for the 10-inch line that goes down past it.
What we have is we have a failure for so long and for so many years. We've got a problem, and now they're trying to put a Band-Aid on a problem until this new wastewater treatment plant is built. Yes, we need a new wastewater treatment plant. Yes, we need to look at the future maybe for a regional, but I don't know about you guys, but I don't want wastewater flowing in on the streets in the city of Granbury.
No.
Not good for the citizens. It's not good for tourism. It's not good all the way around. So maybe now everybody should step in and say, you guys messed up, let's fix it, let's get this plan online and get going, and then in the meantime, let's look at a regional plan, because we sure don't want to have wastewater in the streets again.
Absolutely. And if a regional plant was being talked about 10 years ago, then it's something that we're still going to need eventually. So it's something that still needs to be on the table, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I gotta ask why they've got their heels dug in like this on that wastewater treatment facility they refer to as East. Why that location? Why are they so dead set on that?
That's a good point, Nate. Maybe that comes to the backroom deal portion of this video.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching Shark Show today, and part 2 of our series on wastewater, backroom deals, and moratorium will be coming out next. Shark Show out.